We start our show with breaking news. The Celtics have announced that Kristaps Porzingis has suffered a torn medial retinaculum, allowing dislocation of the posterior tibialis tendon in his left leg during the third quarter of Game 2. According to the team, his availability for upcoming games will be determined day to day. Here's Joe Mazzulla just moments ago.
Kind of a random situation, yeah, and I felt something, and now I have to deal with it. So, as we said, yeah, it's going to be day to day, and see how I am tomorrow. And obviously, I'm going to do everything I can to be out there tomorrow, and we'll see.
Are you optimistic?
I am, of course. I have to be. I'm optimistic, and as I said, I will do everything I can to be out there tomorrow.
He's doing anything and everything he can to be ready for the game tomorrow. It's a serious injury, and at the end of the day, our team and the medical team is not going to put him in any bad situations. And so we've taken a decision to play out of his hands because the importance of him. And so he's going to do everything he can to play, and then we're going to leave it up to our medical team, and that's really it.
We now welcome in ESPN NBA reporter Tim Bontemps live from Dallas. Tim, what more can you tell us about this injury for Kristaps Porzingis?
Well, first of all, Chiney, I'm really impressed by you reading that off and that I didn't have to, because when I got the email announcing this injury just before Joe Mazzulla sat down, it took me several reads to figure out what it was actually saying, and it actually took me some research to figure out it was something going on in Kristaps Porzingis' left ankle. And this whole situation is pretty fascinating because Porzingis is walking around, Chiney, without any sort of crutches or a boot on his foot. He's got a brace on his left ankle, but he's not really limping. He's moving around fine, just like he was after Game 2. And frankly, Chiney, the concern for Kristaps Porzingis after that Game 2 was with his right leg, which he appeared to tweak in the fourth quarter of that game. And coming out of it, he said he'll die out on the court if he has to be able to play. He said he was optimistic about the fact to be out there, but there was really no concern at all about this left leg. And obviously, this is a very significant concern now for the Celtics going forward in this series. Porzingis has been a huge boost off the bench for Boston in the first two games. He has been an excellent addition for them off the bench with the three-point shooting and his rim protection. It's capped Al Horford's minutes down, and certainly the Celtics would love to have him out there. And now, as you said, Joe Mazzulla, the first thing he said when I asked him about the injury is that this decision is not going to be in Kristaps Porzingis' hands. This is going to be in the decision of the medical staff for the Celtics to determine on a day-to-day basis whether he'll be able to go. As you heard in that clip, Porzingis, who always presents an optimistic tone anyway, said he has to be optimistic in this situation, believes he's going to do whatever he can to get back out there in Game 3. But certainly with Boston up 2-0, Chiney, looking to take a firm control of the series with a 3-0 lead with a win tomorrow night, this certainly adds an entire new layer of complexity to what Boston is trying to do as they try to put this series away.
Thanks, Tim, for this crucial update. Please stick around because this injury could potentially alter the series. Because how important is Kristaps Porzingis versus the Mavs in the NBA Finals? The Celtics have smoked the Mavs by 25 points in the 44 minutes Porzingis has played in the Finals. But in the 52 minutes he's been out, it's been pretty even.
Porzingis did have plantar fasciitis last summer. It prevented him from playing for his national team of Latvia. So it is, it's something that he's probably been monitoring for a while. I would also tell you it's a type of, at least when it was a tendonitis, it's something that takes a while to deal with. And if you listen to Joe Mazzulla there, it's very clear that they're preparing for the reality he may not be able to play. Now, what that would mean for the Celtics is simply more Al Horford. Al Horford has been excellent in the starting lineup. The positive here is it won't affect the way they've starting. This 9-game win streak that they've had in the postseason is all with Horford as the starter, but it will mean two things specifically. One, it means that Horford's minutes are probably going to have to go up, and the Celtics try to guard his minutes. They, the more minutes he plays, generally, maybe not every game, but generally, you start to see some effects because of his age. And the second thing is you won't have that weapon in Porzingis to come off the bench. One of the things that we've seen in these first two games is when Porzingis comes off the bench, especially in the first quarter, it's like a supercharged injection to their team, the way he's able to be that type of player off the bench. He might be one of the best bench players in the history of the finals. I'm not joking when I say that, when you think of what he's able to do. So now if that is not there, The Celtics have a very large margin for error in general. I think that's one of the lessons that we've learned about this series, just over 2 games. And their margin for error has just taken potentially a very big hit. They still have a lot of options and they still have a lot of weapons, but not having Porzingis, whether it's for 1 game or whatever, is significant. And if you're Dallas, it opens a window of opportunity potentially.
You're right, Wendy, because in game 1, he came off the bench and had 18 points in that first half. Now, Andrea, how much trouble is Boston in if Porzingis can't go?
You know, it's interesting, Chiney. I've just been going back and forth literally as I've been sitting here, because on one hand, how great is it for Boston to have put themselves in a situation to be up 2-0? Like, can you imagine the stress that they would be feeling had the series been even, and now you're going back to Dallas, and Dallas has an opportunity to go up 3-1, but instead you're up 2-0. You could try to steal one in Boston or in Dallas without Porzingis, but even if you drop 2 in Boston, you know you're going home for potentially 2 more games. So they've put themselves in a phenomenal position to take this blow, but let's be very clear, it is a huge blow. How many times did Kristaps Porzingis show he is a matchup nightmare for Dallas? Whether their bigs are on him, whether their guards are on him, it doesn't matter. He was able to score on everyone, score over everyone, score around everyone. And his defense, whether it was getting back in transition, you saw as soon as he was hobbled, what happened? A lob pass in transition. His defense in transition, his defense in the half court, his length on both ends of the floor. He caused problems for Dallas. So not having him available, if you're on Boston's side, it's a big blow, but they've given themselves a little bit of a cushion by getting those 2 wins at home, which is something we knew coming in. They didn't always protect home court, right? So their ability to protect home court puts them in a decent spot, but it's still going to be troubling to figure out how to finish without him.
That's true. And Tim, who will they lean on now without potentially Kristaps Porzingis to truly step up in the series?
Well, today I think we'll see some of Luke Kornet, who's typically been Boston's backup center whenever Porzingis or Al Horford hasn't played. But I want to go back to a point Brian made about Al Horford's minutes. And when Al Horford is in the 25 to 30-minute range, he has been an excellent player for Boston in these playoffs. When his minutes go up above 30, when they go up above 35, when they approach 40, his efficiency and his play starts to really decline. And a thing that's been critical in the first couple games of this series for Boston is that Ben Horford has been able to switch out onto Kyrie Irving, has been able to switch out onto Luka Doncic, and has been able to do so without any really negative impact on the Celtics defensively. If his energy level starts to dip, if he's not able to play with quite the same intensity level because he's playing more minutes, all of a sudden, maybe Luka Doncic gets going a little more, maybe Kyrie Irving finally gets going after a rough couple games, and things start to look a little bit different for Boston in this series. Now, Luke Kornet has been a very effective piece for Boston. He's got the size to be able to lay back and potentially disrupt some of the pick and roll lob action that Dallas has not been able to get to in the first couple games of the series. It has been such a critical part of what Dallas has done in these playoffs. But make no mistake, Luke Kornet is not Kristaps Porzingis. And as you laid out in those stats before, Celtics plus 25 with Porzingis on the court, even with him on the bench. Obviously, the challenge for them, as Andrea pointed out, trying to get a 3-1 lead here in Dallas now. If Porzingis is unable to go, it's a far more difficult task if they don't have their 7-3 sharpshooter out there on the court for them over the next couple of games.
And the truth is, Luke Kornet is a role player. Andrea, does Jayson Tatum, their star, have to do more? Is there more pressure on him now based off of Kristaps Porzingis?
You would think so, right, Chiney? Especially being on the road in Dallas. What is something that we've been saying about Dallas's superstars when they're in Boston? Your superstars perform on the road. They have to perform on the road. So more eyes are going to be on Tatum. And just think about in game 1, Kristaps Porzingis dropped 20. Kristaps Porzingis has been consistently efficient when they need a bucket, while as Jayson Tatum, even though I think he's been tremendous out there on the court, aside from his efficiency, that's been the thing. He's been inefficient. And now without Kristaps Porzingis on the floor to make up for some of that, his efficiency is going to be a big key for potentially trying to snag at least 1 win on the road in Dallas. Your superstars show up on the road. Jayson Tatum has been a leader. He's been a facilitator. He's been a key. He's been the engine. You heard Drew Holiday. He gave Jayson Tatum so much credit even for his own performance in game 2. But the efficiency now is going to be huge if you're Jayson Tatum on the road.
And this has me thinking, Wendy, are the Celtics actually designed? Are they actually built for times like this?
Well, I mean, they do have a good 7-man, 8-man rotation. that they are a top-heavy team. That is really a good thing from because their top 6 are awesome. And Porzingis missed 2 whole series, and they pretty much blasted their way through it. So that just was happening. They were just playing without him a few weeks ago. So it's not like they have to go back to the drawing board here. They can rely on it. But it does limit some of the options that they have. And they are blessed, and they have been designed to have a lot of options. They are as prepared for an injury like this, honestly, as any team that I've seen in the finals in the last decade. So I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that they can't handle it and get 2 more victories.